being able to bring in a class snack for everyone to share, like, you know, I know some of them have to like bring in, you know, just have snacks available for the students to share at snack time. Is that, I just wanted to know if that was considered to be a shared snack in that section.
Yeah, I think this was more intended to be for, especially around some of the holidays and the fall festival and things like that, and when there's an actual party, a celebration happening, and everyone's participating. And correct me if I'm wrong, Gina, but that was really the intention when the policy was being written for some of that language. So it's, in my opinion, no, it's not prohibiting teachers from bringing in snacks for students. Now, there's some exceptions to that. If there's allergies and things like that, then they would be posted on the classroom, and they need to be aware that that won't happen.
It also talks about setting up a committee. So is that something, what is the plan for that?
So currently, we do already have a wellness committee that's in place, but one of the new things in the policy talks about specific people that have to be on that committee, and board members are actually needing to be invited to that. So we were going to put that out for my next committee meeting. I was going to put it out to the board members to see who was interested, and I spoke to Mrs. Miller walking in, and she said she would be interested in being on that committee as well. But anybody is welcome to come, so we can put that out on the district website starting next year when those wellness committee meetings are.
Okay.
I have a question. On page 8, school-sponsored activities, and I'm trying to find what paragraph it was. Oh, here, I think that was the third paragraph down. Foods and beverages offered at or sold at school-sponsored events outside the school day, such as athletic events, etc., should offer healthy alternatives. How is that? I mean, how are we going to govern that? Are you talking like football games? And I mean, a lot of those items seem to be brought in by parents and then resold, packaged. So how do we govern that?
Well, I think it's just trying to say that we are going to encourage those outside groups to bring in other more healthier type offerings. Not that we're saying that they're not going to be able to offer the hot dogs and the same types of things that they do at the football games, but encouraging them to have other healthy choices available to the people coming to those events as well.
So it's just to encourage?
Encourage, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. And I have just one other question on page 2, paragraph 2. You're pretty clear saying annually things will be reviewed or information shared except for I think it's the staff members. It doesn't say they have to report annually. Like the other ones are listed as each building principal should report annually, the superintendent designee shall annually report. But the second one, the staff members, so do we need to add annually or is that just as needed? Do you understand? You understand?
I'm trying to find where.
I'm sorry, it's page 2 of 11 and it's
I see superintendent or designee.
So the next one down is each building principal or designee shall annually report to the superintendent, you know, et cetera. And then the next one says staff members responsible for programs, blah, 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 need to report, but it doesn't say annually. So I didn't know if that was just as needed, and does that need to be stated as needed, or is it applied annually? The 2 of the 3 say annually.
I can look into that. This was a recommendation from PSBA, so I think we took the wording just how they had it, but
What's the intent?
I think the intent would be as needed.
Then I'll maybe add that to be clear, to clarify. Yep. That's all my questions, thank you.
I just had a question about why there's such a big overhaul of this policy. It seems like the whole thing has been crossed out and rewritten.
Yeah, so if you recall, in 2010, President Obama signed into law the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, and the rewriting of wellness policies was part of that, and it came into regulation not until July 29th of 2016. And because of all of the changes to the National School Lunch Guidelines that happened back in 2010, they reworked school wellness policy requirements. So now it's almost all encompassing, like if you look in here, there's not only stuff about the cafeteria, but there's physical education, nutrition education, so almost looking at wellness as an entire whole instead of just focusing on the stuff that happens in the cafeteria.
So you're just saying it took a few years for everything to like be worked
Yeah.
out and then come down and get to the schools?
Correct. I mean, the regulation was just given to us in last summer, in July of 2016, and the recommendation just came out from PSBA in April, so.
I have a question, it's not directly in here, but when we're redoing a policy that deals with the nutrition and requirements of our school lunch program, there was something I wanted to ask you about. That's a policy, it's not really in here, but I think it's an unwritten policy. But if students are coming to school with, without payment for their lunch, what is our current policy for kids who aren't paying for their lunches or for a, on a regular basis? If not just one missed lunch here, but I mean, my understanding is that if they don't pay for one or two lunches, then they're required to get a cheese sandwich every day until they get payment for their lunches. Is that, when I was teaching in a different district, I had a student in my class, and I didn't find out until late into the year that that student was not allowed to purchase lunch with the other kids and only getting a cheese sandwich every day for almost the entire year. That student was embarrassed in front of his class. When I found out, I bought him a hot lunch, started buying his hot lunch. But I had to buy it under my name because it couldn't go under his account. In that situation, it was not the child's choice, and it was a parent who just, it wasn't that the parent couldn't afford to pay, the parent chose not to send payment in for lunch. That's not the child's fault, and the child has already, already has to deal with a situation like that. So I would like to see us find a way that we are attaching that responsibility back to the parents and not to the child.
So I understand your frustration because
I've heard that goes on here.
well, so there is an unwritten policy, if you want to call it. It's not obviously a policy. But there is a procedure in place for children's accounts who haven't, been paid. The children are elementary school children. We never deny them a lunch. We have procedures in place to tell parents of your child's negative balances. And if there is 5 days that go by or 5 lunches that go by, then the unwritten policy or procedure is to do the cheese sandwich. But in that time frame, the parents are getting, we send emailed reminders to the parents twice a week at the elementary school level to let parents know when their child's account is in the negative. My managers make phone calls to parents. We have gotten principals involved. So we haven't really had that issue where we get to the point where we have kids that are so far in the negative. We have been very, very fortunate that our parents they're pretty good. So we don't really have, I haven't seen those issues in our schools, thank God.
So you don't see kids that are having to get cheese sandwiches?
Well, we try to inform the parents before that actually happens because of that whole embarrassment thing that goes on. And it hasn't happened. I can't say that it's never happened, that a child has gotten a cheese sandwich, but we contact parents before that happens so that the parents have the opportunity to work with us. And that's the last thing that we want to do is put the child in that situation because we know that it's not the child's fault.
Well, because, I mean, I think
Can you
last
get your
year.
mic on, please?
I believe it was last year, you know, at some point when my daughter's balance had run out on her account. I got a notice because of one borrow that the next lunch she was going to get a cheese sandwich.
It said that on the notice?
Or that she was going to get a different, I don't know if it said cheese sandwich, but because her account was in the negative, because it ran out for one day, that she would have to get a different lunch.
I'll look into that, but that is not my understanding of what the email says. So I can look into that.
Because, I mean, if you have a parent, I know you said they're reaching out to parents, but if the parent just refuses to do it, you know, I just don't want us to be in a position where we're punishing the kid instead of the parent. I mean, there's got to be ways that we can push that off onto the parents and hold them responsible instead of our kids.
I'd like to chime in here. I don't consider it punishing the student. They're getting a cheese sandwich, which is not Spam, it's not surplus food, it's not even a hot dog. It's a cheese sandwich, and I'm assuming they probably get fruit and a drink with that. I'm not here to pay for lunches that parent can afford. I think that is welfare. That is welfare that doesn't even deserve. The parents can afford it. They're getting fed. It's not that the district is sending these kids home without lunch. And it's a good lunch. What's involved with that, Gina? Cheese sandwich and what else?
So they would get all the components of the meal, so there would be a fruit, a vegetable, and a milk.
And to me,
And
I
a
think,
cheese sandwich.
yes, and to me, that's very substantial. Like I said, it's not Spam or corned beef hash or, you know, this incarnation.
The bill comes back to the parents, so the parents are still paying for all of those cheese sandwiches, or they're going to pay for the full lunch. Either way, the parents are going to pay for it, and I'm not suggesting we pay for it. What I'm suggesting is that we find a way to hold the parents accountable instead of the student accountable, because it's not fair for the student to be punished for poor decisions that parents are making. There's lots of ways that we can hold parents accountable. I'm not suggesting that that we pay for it. Either way, that bill comes back to the parents, and the parents have to pay that bill. So it's just a matter of what they're paying for. And as far as if the kid doesn't know and the kid comes up to the end of the lunch line with their full warm hot lunch, and then they're told, no, you can't have that, you have to put that back and get a cheese sandwich, you know, I don't care if they're telling you to put it back because you're getting a prime rib. The kid's still getting embarrassed because the kid was just told they can't get lunch they brought up to the desk.
I think the point is well taken, and I think I've heard Mrs. Giarratana say that we don't really have this problem here. So all I would say, Mrs. Giarratana, is make sure we just have maybe an extra step added in there in case we encounter the problem in the future. Those points are well taken.
Okay, thank you.
I just had one other question. I was just wondering what plans we have to expand on the gardens that we have. We have the garden over at West Rock Hill, and I wanted to know what other plans you had for expanding that.
So we have 2 other gardens that have started this spring. So we have a garden at South Middle School, and actually tomorrow at 2 o'clock, where the children are planting the vegetables for that. And we also have a garden at Seiler Elementary School that the kids planted the vegetables last Thursday. and they've had to cover them a few nights, but they're okay. Yeah, we were a little early on that. And actually, at West Rock Hill, we grew all of the vegetables for the 3 gardens from seeds this year. We have a grow light, and we grew them all from seeds, and we were able to, just spend very minimal amount of money on seeds, and we grew them, and that's what we're planting tomorrow at South. So you're welcome to come over and plant if you'd like, 2 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I just have one other. On page 7, it says that drinking water shall be available and accessible to students without restriction at no cost at all meal periods and throughout the school day. So I'm wondering how we're doing that. I know at the high school they have that new fountain, whatever, the water bottle filling station.
Yeah, the requirement from the National School Lunch Program is that water be made available in the cafeteria so the kids don't have to leave. And that water is either by a water fountain or for those cafeterias that don't have water fountains, we purchased like those big orange jugs that they have for sports teams. So we fill them with ice water every day, put them in the refrigerator, and then at breakfast we put the jug of water out with cups, and then the same at lunch. So that's what we're meeting the National School Lunch requirements for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? So is everyone comfortable with moving this forward? Okay. Any comments or questions from the public? Okay, then policy is adjourned.